Don't use your ex-girlfriend's map to navigate your new girlfriend's neighborhood because because everybody's slightly different.
Welcome back to our season 2 finale of MUSE on the Mic. I'm Riley.
And I'm Emily. Thanks again for joining us on this awesome episode. Can we just do a little for season 2?
It's been so fun.
It's been fun. It has flown by. I can't believe how fast it's been. I feel like the topics and the episodes have been even better. No offense to season 1. Yeah. But we're in a groove. We're in a wicked groove right now. And today's going to be another hot one for everyone. Riley, tell everyone what special stuff we've got going on today.
So we are going to end on a high note with our third guest to the show. We are going to have on Kenneth Play. And Kenneth, we initially saw from our friend's show, from the Hard or Soft show. And he captivated us both immediately. He has a lot of sex knowledge that we cannot wait to dive into with him. But I will give you some background on him for those of you that don't know. He's an international sex expert and educator, sex hacker, author, and has been featured in Men's Health, Cosmopolitan, Huffington Post, and now MUSE on the Mic.
Yay! I love it. He's also a babe. Let's be serious. Total babe. Really fun, super fascinating life. And a little flip coin to us because our main professional focus is men's pleasure. And his professional focus is women's pleasure. So boys, strap in. You're going to learn some shit today.
I'm strapping in for this one.
I got my notepad right here beside me because, yes, we need tips. We all need tips. Let's get those fingers and, I guess, other parts ready. I'm so excited to have him on the show. We loved him as soon as we saw him. And if y'all ever caught the episode, it was a hand job episode, actually, that we saw him on. And he was gloating about the caliber of a professional hand job compared to an amateur or civilian one. And of course, we're like,
you're speaking our language, sir.
100%. So I know this conversation is going to be great. I can't wait. Let's pull him in.
Let's go.
All right, let's get started. Kenneth, welcome to MUSE on the Mic. We're so happy to have you. You look awesome. I'm so excited to chat with you. Riley is just as pumped. And let's just dive in. Let's get to the chit chat. Let's get to all the dirty stuff. I'm so excited.
We have so many questions, but we've tried to condense them for you. But really, I want to start by going back to the beginning. Like, where did this journey start for you, and how did this kind of evolve for you?
Well, my backstory is that I was a deeply sexually insecure kid, thinking the first porn I ever watched in my life was a gangbang porn with giant penises with like 10 of them on one girl. So my imprint is that if I don't have a porn star cock, right, and it's not just one guy, right, it's 10 of them. So I go like, shit, I'm just never going to be able to satisfy a woman. So coming from that deep insecurity, and on top of it, I was really sexual and horny. So somehow I escaped from being an incel. And although I thought if I can change that, maybe if I become really rich and have a six-pack, that would change my life. Then I became a personal trainer. But no matter what I got externally, it never changed my internal insecurity. And not till I found the sex positive community, went to sex party, realized sex and pleasure has, I think size matter, but it's matter if it fits the individual person. So some people will have a higher preference on that or the other. And I think the biggest lesson I learned from this is adopting a growth mindset when it comes to sex. And also I had nothing to compensate for after going the merry-go-around. So, but at the same time, it kind of gave me the opportunity to learn all the sex technique that I could ever find out there, from tantra, kink, neuroscience, sex party, kinkster. There's just so much to learn. So now, after a decade later, I put it on a book and also have probably more hands-on experience than most people would ever have in their lives. So it's not just theory for me, it's application. Yeah.
That's so
I love that. That's so fascinating. What a detour. You really skirted the incel thing. That was a good move. But
Yeah.
there's so many men out there where it's a razor thin margin, right? And
Mhm.
you either fall into that pit or you don't. And so good on you for not, because I'm convinced incels are one of the biggest dangers to women in society right now. But
Yeah.
on top of that, one of the biggest problems is the removal of sex education, proper anatomical sex education, starting from young, straight up to grown ass adults. Let's be serious, right? And I think that's why all of us have ended up in educator roles, is because there's such a void of real, proper, healthy information out there, as well as kind of limitless and not with boundaries, because sex can be anything and everything you ever wanted it to be, as long as you put in the concerted effort to learn, to practice. That includes fucking up a little bit, right? Make your mistakes, get your bumps and your bruises, and then master your craft and really figure out what works for you, and therefore what can work for your partner. And I love that you've taken the women's pleasure approach, because we are neglected in so much of like medical communities, politics, all those kinds of things. It's so refreshing to hear someone that focuses exclusively on women's pleasure. So on that note, I do have a brief question, because once in a while we get a little bit of backlash and they're like, listen to women advising men on how they get their pleasure. And I'm like, well, listen, we're the deliverers. This is what I'm in.
Right.
And so I'm wondering, have you ever heard from women saying things like, oh, what do you know about women's pleasure? You don't have a vagina, blah, blah, blah.
Well, I do have a vagina. I'm kidding.
There's a twist.
Yeah, I think it's really important is because I don't have the equipment myself, and I need to learn how to relate to it. And if there are straight women who likes to fuck male, they have to relate the same way I relate to it. So I offer my voice as a heterosexual male who enjoy satisfying their partner, and I have to understanding in a perspective on parts that I don't have, but also related to the same parts that I do have, and deepen my empathy and my understanding and the mechanics of how everything works. So yes, I do not have the same perspective as a lesbian pleasuring their partner.
Right.
However, a lesbian cannot relate to a straight man quite the same way. So I think and I'm not saying that which one is better, they're just different.
They're just different. Yeah, I completely agree with that. That's insightful. I like it. I like it. Riley, you're up with some questions.
Well, listen, I mean, it's a question I've been wanting to know the answer to. So when you're kind of venturing into this world and you decided to become an educator or to learn more, how did you decide your focus of women's pleasure versus men's?
Well, it's kind of a cheeky story, like in every sex party you go to, there's always this one guy that make everybody squirt. And then in the beginning, my uneducated or porn educated self just think this is like the best orgasm or the most flashy party trick. So I literally went to every guy that I ever met at a party that does that and kind of took notes on how they did it. And I have no shame. I just will walk up to the guy and just like, hey, I'm curious of what you did, what worked, what didn't work. My background is in fitness, so I was really into understanding how people got in shape. And in a sex party, there's actually evidence-based learning. It wasn't a theory. It wasn't a porn recording. I saw it with my own eyes, and I could interview the people. So I decided to break down all the technique on squirting. Then I kind of became a world expert on it. And I had an episode on Vice talking about how I teach squirting to couples live with over 25 million view. So that was a start. But what really happened is that at my sort of like sex party life, one of the promoter decided to go like, hey, do you want to teach a class? And at that time I was still really shy and like overcoming my insecurity. So I decided to just kind of skill share and teach a class in this beautiful penthouse hotel room with like 16 couples. But I was also very comfortable with teaching a fitness class. So I can't believe my eyes when I got 15 couples to squirt for the first time, because I'm good at the teaching technique part. And it kind of blew my mind when that hotel room turned into a Bellagio fountain show. And I was like, and it really hit me that, oh, I never thought about teaching sex this way. And it's so much faster than teaching fitness because fitness takes forever to get results, right? There's a whole delay gratification. This one is immediate gratification. So, and then that just basically sparked this idea to become a sex educator and take my 15 years of fitness education and apply it to how to not just inform people, because I think sex educators are doing amazing work, right, for giving people the appropriate information. But just like fitness, if I teach you all the things about diet, protein, and exercise, and you don't do anything about it, you will not experience a result. So my focus is, how do people actually get result? How does it get transformed instead of just inform? So then I really dial in on that process.
That's so relatable. I have a kinesiology degree and grew up in the fitness world too. So I totally get it. And you're right. Theory and practical is completely different. And because of that, I teach workshops as well on pleasure. And that instructor role just kind of came naturally for those reasons, because I've taught many a fitness class in my day. That's so relatable. That's so interesting.
Oh,
but it's amazing to be paid to provide pleasure, get paid to travel, get paid to teach, and to kind of bring knowledge to people that brings them closer together. I think that's fantastic. Yeah,
I have one quick little question before you take over, Em. What is your success rate, Kenneth? Can you make any woman squirt, or have you ever been challenged in that sense?
Probably 99%. And I think the challenge is there's a difference between you trying to make someone squirt, which is kind of involuntarily, like, like a doctor hitting your knee kind of thing.
Right.
But it's not necessarily enjoyable. And the receiver could still fight it technically. Right. It's like a tug of war battle. And also, I don't want it over glorifying. Just seeing water come out, right, does not mean that this person is having a good time. But there is a lot of beautiful lessons in squirting specifically, because they teach you a lot about their neuroscience, what internal stimulation requires a certain level of pressure in order for the brain to register as a sensation. And it requires for the receiver to truly let go, let the body do what it wants to do without inhibiting. And there's an emotional component of it. And on top of it, there's techniques that you could stimulate externally, internally, and kind of calibrating all those things together. So I like teaching squirting because of all the lessons is available. But as a single sex act, like, either is a hit or miss. For some people, it's the most pleasurable thing. For some people, it's just a party trick.
Really?
It's so fascinating. And yet the flip coin, because of our world, is that's so along the lines of how we teach prostate stuff. And I think the same thing, you're overcoming childhood traumas, you're breaking down stigmas at the same time, you're teaching people to either connect or disconnect mentally from their habits. And it can be a bit of a mountain to get over for some people, depending on kind of where they're coming from at that point. But the way it builds familiarity and learning about your own body, I think, is the number one reason for people to have autonomy, first of all, is know your parts so you can make decisions about them, and having that connection. Because you're right, like, internal body doesn't have skin, so you don't have like touch receptors and those kind of things. So connecting with what pleasure, pressure, sensation, different textures feel like inside your body is very different from anything that touches outside your body. And it can feel super weird the first few times, the first many times for some. And you really have to kind of like give it to God kind of thing, like let it go and just see what happens. And if it ends up a mess, who cares? And if it ends up a mess, fantastic, you did it right. Like, you just have to go with that. It's going to be bumpy. It's going to be awkward, but like, roll with it and you'll be amazed what your body can do. And therefore, after that, what you can imagine for yourself and your own body going forward in your own personal sex life, your own pleasure centers, even your masturbation and your private time, it'll change the way you look at things.
Absolutely.
And I think the world underrates that in terms of sex. I think sex is so stigmatized and tabooed and all those kind of things that it's like, you want people to be physically healthy, mentally healthy, spiritually healthy, all these things. But if you eliminate sexual health, you're eliminating a giant piece of the human experience. And so are we really that present in our life? Are we really connecting with our lovers and our partners, or our own body's capabilities? It's very much along the lines of Tantra, like what the body can do. Ask any Buddhist monk what the body can do. And like, you can train your body to do so many things. And starting with things that are pleasurable is just the tip of the iceberg. And I think it's so interesting just to watch people, especially couples, transform that way. It's fantastic. I love it. So on that note, because we're in the world of sex work, we own a body rub parlor. So we don't work there ourselves, but I used to work in the industry as well for 8 years. So we've got 20 some odd years experience in this stuff. And so I'm curious, I know you've known and met professionals because the video that we actually reacted to of yours with the hard and soft guys was about a professional giving a hand job. Of course, we're like, because that's our total zone. I'm wondering if you have experience with sex workers. Have you been a client before? Have you worked, on the pro side as being the guy that goes with the sex worker to something, or any, I'm curious about any of your sex work experience.
Well, let me answer the first question. So on the receiving end was with a colleague because I work in the industry. And on my personal experience, I've been on the Back to the Body team with my mentor, Panel Messon. It is a retreat base, but a session in there is somatic session. So it's like you could think of a erotic massage plus sex ed plus a little bit of science. And with me, it's sort of like in some way like a fitness class, but sexier. So I was very privileged to be working on a team, and there's actually a scientific study relating to her modality and how she does it that shows a quantifiable changes for people learning about their body, experience pleasure, and gaining the skill. So because of that opportunity, I probably have thousands of interaction between my personal sex life or different women flying in from all over the world with different story, different trauma, different desire, different preferences. And sometimes I'm meeting them through 6 to 8 days, and sometimes just for 90 minutes, because sometimes I do one off inside the retreat. So I have to quickly develop the way to learn about someone's body, how to coach them in a way they learn how to receive and learn about how different sensation feels. So, and because of that experience, plus the sex party experience, my kink experience, that's why I able to gather so many different sex techniques, because there's so many trial and error. And being a data nerd, I actually track them. Like, it works, this didn't work, this worked, this is better, and this is how you calibrate. So it's fascinating to see the diversity of different ways people receive pleasure, and also how they all kind of connect and bridge to the same principle.
Okay.
So true. That's so very true. It's like different journeys to the same conclusion.
Sorry, we're talking over each other.
Go.
Is that what you mean by being a sex hacker? Is that what being a sex hacker is keeping that data and trying to find a way around the system?
Yeah, I think sex hack is like techniques to me. I relate it to more cooking, like the art of cooking. There's two parts. There's the nutrition side, sexual health part, and there's the delicious side, what makes it pleasurable. And sometimes we need to emphasize obviously on the healthy part, right? Which is great, but thank God delicious sex is healthy most of the time. So I want to learn what truly makes something delicious to that individual. And ultimately, I think it boils down to 3 parts. One is your ability to pay attention to the sensation, like your perception. Are you mindful about the sensation? It is the science nerdy word is interoception. Can you experience a sensation inside your body, like inside your skin? What Emily was talking about earlier. Like kinksters are very good at like spank, immediately pay attention to sensation that's happening because it clicks in the flight or flight. But you also have to have enough trust so you're like relaxed and comfortable and feeling safe at the same time. And the other part is finding what sensation feels good to that individual body. So it could be like pleasure mapping. That's why I always use this line: don't use your ex-girlfriend's map to navigate your new girlfriend's neighborhood, because because everybody's slightly different, and how our individual varies is because literally the neural layout. So genital looks different on the outside, our body looks different on the outside, but literally our nerves are slightly vary on how it branches. Among other things like your vagal tone or your sympathetic tone, but there's a location. So some people might like it at 1 o'clock of the clit. I have clients that like you have to touch like above their clit 3 inches near the pubic bone, and that's where the dental nerve lies. So everybody slightly vary among those things. And then last part is that it has to be a turn on. The erotic context has to be right. So it's kind of like comedy. It has to be funny to you and you cannot fake it.
Right.
So my job is always like, how do I get them to pay attention to their experience? What sensation really does it for them? And can I find a turn on? Like whatever the eroticism is. And one of the most profound insight that I learned about erotic context lately is that our brain is built for stories, not facts. Right. So it's kind of like the WWE. You know that shit is fake, but we're so entertained by it. So in sex is like you're basically in a game where we get to play pretend, right? Like we're watching a movie, we know they're acting, but we want it to entertain us. So we could look at sexual expression or the way we play as in less serious. We could play pretend in order for us to find the entertainment or the turn on. We calibrate to the right sensation and able to attune and pay attention to the sensation, then magic happen every time. So I look at a client and go like, which part do they need work on and how to find that?
Ooh, that's sexy.
You are so fascinating. I feel like I'm going to use the word fascinating multiple times here. But in saying that, you are very fascinating to us. So if you can share an experience with us or to our viewers, personally or professionally, what is one of the wildest sexual experiences you've had?
Well, I kind of want to touch on what you guys do.
Okay.
I think most guys don't know what it's like to receive quality touch. I'm not shitting on most women out there, right? But it's still a skill and a craft when it comes to touch, right? So just being pretty laying there does not equal, I mean, like that's a foundation, right? Let's just say, but the skill really matter. So if you have someone who really know how to touch you, and sometimes people are doing it for looks, right? They want to look good rather it feels good, and feeling good and looking good sometimes could combine together, and sometimes is not necessarily that will be the focus, right?
Yeah.
So, and also the idea of really being in the receptive space where I am like giving myself permission to receive 100%, right? And to let go. And when you talk about prostate, now, unfortunately, most men would die happy, never knowing they could have a prostate orgasm, right? Which is like the flip side of that coin.
Yeah.
Just like external, internal orgasm for female. But it requires a very different headspace, right? You have to be in this let go, surrendering in order for those, in order for the neuroscience to actually kick in, for it to work. And like Emily said, it's not localized. It is spread out through your body. It's this delay radiating feeling that you'll have to learn how to feel. And you have to be turned on enough in order for all those things to happen. So you have to be in this relaxed state. But once you experience the flip side, now, personally, I learned how to have multiple orgasm, like do my prostate or penile. And I would say that I still prefer penile, like sexual experience most of the time. However, by having another professional playing with my prostate and my own self-exploration, I could relate to my female partner a lot better than I would ever be possible without knowing what that sensation feels like. So I fuck differently because of my own embodied experience. So, yeah, so I would say that, yeah, give it a try. I think it's really amazing to be on the receiving end of that.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with all of that. It is so fascinating to hear it coming from, no offense, but coming from a guy, because we have these conversations with our staff all the time, right? And my former coworkers and things. And it's always with women, but we usually struggle to get women into the male mindset, and to hear the flip coin. It's so surreal to hear you talk about it that way, because I'm like, I've had these very conversations, and yet it's exactly relevant on the other side of things as well. And I think men, I feel for the ones that never experience that pleasure, because it is pleasure. Your body wasn't designed by mistake, right? It's there for a reason. We're one of the few species that fuck for pleasure as opposed to just procreation, right? And so it's not a survivalist instinct, but it is a quality of life thing that should be happening altogether, aside from all the health benefits and all of the many reasons why men and their prostates need a lot of focus these days. And so I think getting people over that hump which unfortunately with a lot of men stems from homophobia. And that's where I always like to highlight, but no, it can be stimulated externally as well. We don't just ram just peg you out of the blue, especially without consent. Throw in there with your giant like porn penises that you were talking about. Like it's not like that at all. And I think that same kind of fear or uncomfortability or almost panic comes in the first time a woman feels her G spot. We think we're going to pee all over you, and we immediately clench up and think, oh, no, right? And so it can be that same kind of like hump that you're trying to get over, and like just let's go on the quest. Like you said, it's a game simulation. Let's go on the journey. If we die at level 4, that's fine. We can start again, but like let's do it and let's get through it, because what's on the other side is so amazingly fantastic. And those end up the sexual experiences that end up in your own memoir one day, or like in the back of your mind is like, yeah, that's a core memory for now.
Right.
Because it ends up fantastic, right? Who doesn't want a fluid draining, tingling, shaking, trembling orgasm that you need a nap for afterwards? Like that is ideal. It should be the same as a good meal and a good comedy show. I love that you related those things too, because it's so true. You have to kind of let go of all of that stuff that we do as just human beings getting through a busy society that blocks off a lot of those things. We don't allow ourselves to even stop and smell the roses sometimes, let alone have a laugh or savor your dinner and don't rush through it, or discover new spots on your very familiar partner. Like there are so many different things. And so when a man comes into our parlor and he is maybe his first time, like you said, 100% on the receiving end, which the clients are allowed to be givers in our parlor too. They do a lot of eating pussy. They do a lot of fingering, a lot of making out. But the main focus is his pleasure. It's for his stimulation, his sensations. And some of my favorite sessions when I worked were the guys that would just kind of lay back and been like, do your thing. Because I'm like, we're going to have fun today, because there's no performance pressure on me at that point, right? The looks are great for the visual side of it, but we're going to talk skill now, because now I get to show off my moves and I get to discover where his parts of, pleasure sensations are. And even my journey learning with certain clients that had, ability problems, mobility problems, handicaps, spinal injuries, all kinds of different things. The body is fabulous. It will reroute your pleasure centers to different areas of the body. And that's a whole new experience, even as a professional, where I'm like, what do you mean 3 inches below your belly button is how you come? Or what do you mean sensations on your thumb is what gets your penis hard since your spine was injured? Like, I need to know all of these things. And the pleasure mapping takes a whole new form at that point, right? Because it's a fresh map and it's a clean slate, and you're both on a discovery. And I think that just makes the connection and the human experience so much better, because let's be real, there's a lot of bored, pretty strippers. There's a lot of not busy, gorgeous escorts. There's, you know what I mean? Like it takes so much more than just the pretty Hollywood package, that once you get into the thick of it, it's almost addictive to be like, how else can I make you feel this, this, and this? And it's, it feels so powerful sometimes. I just love it. I think sex work is so fantastic that way, as well as the side that you're on, right? Is like the exploration of being an educator. You learn every single time too, right? Because everybody's so different. And so I love that we've all kind of ended up at these conclusions on what sex can be. And men need to experience that pampering, I think is the best word, because lay back and take it. Shut up and enjoy. Just get out of that macho man side of things and just let a woman do what a woman can do. And when she knows proper technique for massage, stimulation, and then the pleasure stuff, he should be in such a headspace that he's floating out the door of our spa by the time he's done, which I will say, kudos to us, happens every day, all the time, many, many times a day.
I relate to, this fantastic docuseries on Netflix called Chef's Table, right? It shows off like how amazing chefs create their food. And I look at us as sex professional, knowing how to incorporate all the flavor, texture, ingredients. So, and then when it comes to sensation, most people don't know there's other flavor. Imagine your entire life, the only access is to sugar. You only know sweet. You didn't know there's umami, savory sensation. And I look at like, when it comes to external stimulation, clit or penis, is because it's off your flight or flight, your sympathetic is a quick, immediate tension type of sensation. So it's like sweet and fast. And the other one is more savory and more umami. And they're two different flavors. So a good chef could mix all those flavors and create balance and combination. But if you never tasted the other side, you just don't know. You know what I mean? Right. And your tongue literally never touched it. So I am disappointingly straight. But from an experiential standpoint, I think everyone should eat all the cuisine out in the world.
100%. I love that. I saw a video the other day, Riley. I think I sent it to you. That said, it was a gay man saying that he doesn't believe that everyone or anyone is 100% straight. There's got to be a 0.2 something in there. And I agreed. Riley was like, I'm not sure about this. And I was like, no. Most men, when they watch porn, stare at the penis a lot more than they would ever admit, or they look a lot more in the change room. And like, there's a lot of fascination. Even homophobia can often stem from an envy, an uncomfortability, something that happened that made you tingle, that you freaked out about. Like, there's curiosity at the very least, and we should be a sponge. And you're right. I think food is such a good analogy. It's like really when you see a person that's lived in the UK their whole life finally travel and try spicy food. There's more things than salt and pepper, guys.
Right. God.
For the people that traded spices around the world, y'all really miss the spice boat.
Yeah.
It's funny, right? But then when you have that perfect balance, that master chef kind of display, it's visual, it's scent, it's all the senses combined, and it should make your brain do a million things once it hits your tongue. You should be confused by it. You should be thrilled and euphoric about it. It should be a little bit orgasmic, a little bit cosmic and mysterious. And you're like, what is this? Like, I've never had this before. Mm-hmm. And now you know that there's 1,000 flavors out there. Well, you now have homework. That's what I call a sexual bucket list. Like, let's go, buddy. We got things to check off. Like, now that you've gotten a little taste, let's now like try the whole menu. And I think if people were more open-minded about that, they'd find the things that they like a lot quicker than just dismissing something as, oh, that's not for me. Like, don't knock until you try it twice, because you'll know after that.
True.
You'll know after that for sure.
Mm-hmm. Welcome back to Just the Tip with Riley. So today we're talking about foot play. If you had to name an erogenous zone goldmine, feet may or may not be on your list, but after today's segment, it just might be. If you're a bona fide foot fetishist, chances are you already know this. Foot fetish is one of the most common types of fetishes for a non-sexual body part. If you're already doing foot play, then you know how erotic and sensitive the feet can be. But for the rest of us, incorporating feet into sex can feel unfamiliar and intimidating. Foot fetishes can range from massaging, tickling, licking, sniffing, or even admiration, adoring feet, and sometimes while they're covered in jewelry, like toe rings, jewels, or anklets. But it's the why on this topic that has me so intrigued. Why do 47% of people incorporate feet and toes into sex? While turn-ons or kinks are very personal, there are several documented reasons people reported being aroused by feet. So let's dive in.
If this tip isn't enough, subscribe to Patreon for the whole thing.
I love it. So I'm going to steal one of Riley's questions here because I have them on hand. I'm wondering if you can give our gentlemen viewers a couple tips or techniques on stuff they can do to please their muse. Because like I said, they're allowed to touch the girls. Most men like to be givers. They feel much better about their session and their experience if they get to make her come as well. And I remember from my career, faking it sucked. So if I could leave at the end of a shift with a lot of money and a few orgasms, I was like, best day ever. That's the day at the office.
I mean, a very easy hack is to ask her how she likes to be touched. And if she's willing to be honest and tell you directly, because every individual preference is slightly different. But if she wouldn't tell you and you have to guess, then I actually come up with a system on my book. You kind of go with the highest probability. Like, you know how card counting works in Vegas? You want to bet and the highest percentage bet. So nipple-gasm will be on lower because less human experiences that. So usually external stimulation, do a vibrator on your finger usually work, right? You start there first and then it varies from there. So also when men truly understand the clitoris just like the head of their penis, and if they expect to have an orgasm without touching the head of their penis, it's kind of crazy. So if you start looking at the clit that way, it just makes you 10 times better in the bedroom.
I love that.
Yeah, so understand our genital is actually very similar. Just actually all started at the clit, then it gets developed, but the nerves are still there, just rearranged in a different way. So if you could start comparing those genital, and you could use your own experiences on how you like to be touched. And if the last thing I think is so underrated is rhythm. Right. So the worst thing is when you got the rhythm right and then she's getting excited and you decide to change it. Don't do that.
Right.
It's the worst thing possible. So once you get the rhythm right, just stick with the same rhythm and do not change it. Yeah. But don't try to pull a new move. Yeah.
Just paid attention to the cues she's giving physically or verbally, I think everyone would be in a better position. But yeah, why change it when she's enjoying herself? It makes no sense.
Right, we're like right there.
Yeah, and every woman's cue is slightly different. For some partner, they go dead silence for like 40 seconds when it's just right. So you have to kind of learn how to read erotic cue to that individual. Again, the ex-girlfriend's mad, new girlfriend's neighborhood, right? So you have to understand how she express when she's in the zone. So, and then once you could, decode that, then rest of it is magic.
Decode.
The silence is a good point. It's been a long time since I had to go silent from overwhelming pleasure.
Yeah, some people go that way. Some people like the eyes roll back. Some people are just a breathing pattern. Some people are quite verbal. Yeah. But again, there's a framework to it. So if you learn how to read the cue, you just need to know, we get so frustrated when we look at Uber and the car is not moving. You have to get the Uber map right, and you have to know the car is moving, right? In this context. And as long as you know how to read that correctly. So sometime I have a partner that is kind of silent. Her cue is ambiguous. So I just ask her to squeeze my finger or squeeze my shoulder as is pleasurable. So sometimes it could be a tactile feedback, but you have to be able to read the feedback correctly. So it could be verbal when she said, just like that, then literally just like that, not anything else.
Literally. That's so true. I love it. I find I would always do a little scan of a client's body just to see what's moving, what's twitching, what's tingling. Toes are a big signal too. Spread toes, clenched toes wiggling. There's so many things that toes will suddenly do, and you're like, oh, that's the spot. Like you just know. Butt clenching, arching, like the pressure, all of a sudden they're like in, like, oh, okay, we like that, do we? It's no different, honestly, than like a pet, kind of. Like you go scratch a dog and they lean up on it. You're like, oh, okay, behind the ears, got it.
Yeah.
I
Some
think
people can be so literal.
Right. I have one more quick tip for the audience. Don't listen to your dick clock, listen to the clit clock. And what I mean by that is that don't assume she finished. Like, you rather go a little extra and have her push you away than to stop at the crucial moment because you have the wrong read and when it ended.
Wow,
so I need to make merch. That needs to be a t-shirt.
Yeah. That just continue until she's actually done, not when you think she's done. And often 100%. After thousands of experiences, I still sometimes get it wrong. So the insurance, if you want to have some redundancy in the situation, just keep going until she literally give you the sign to stop.
Ooh, the click clock. I'm telling you, that needs to be a t-shirt. Make some merch with that. I would rock that everywhere. Stir some trouble in public.
So, Kenneth, Emily and I have both binged a lot of your content. And I know you have a very unique personal life or personal relationship. Can you tell us a bit about your personal relationship?
Yeah, my wife has two husbands. I actually met him at a gangbang, not with my wife, another friend's girlfriend birthday party. Okay. And I was peeing that girl, I was DPing that girl with him, double penetration, one in butt, one in vagina. And my wife is really picky. She really like fit and gorgeous guys. And he just happened to be a Dominican version of like, he's beautiful. So I was like, my girlfriend's really picky. I'm really slutty. So it's kind of easier for me to find what I like, what I find desirable. Then I introduced them. They became friends. They start dating. And now we all live together, trying to have a baby. Yeah. And I really think he makes me a better partner. I'm not as good as a solo partner. So I'm like a cat, right? And she's more like a puppy. So different energy. And And what this combo allows me is that it allows me to focus on my career. And Geronimo have so much nurturing energy, and he would adopt every pet, every street cat if it was up to him. So he wants to be a father yesterday, and I don't desire to have my own biological child. So it sort of all works out that way. And being a hacker, I just want to design my life not based on the rules of society or the social script that's given to me, but we could negotiate as adults to see what works and what doesn't work. And there's trade-off on both sides. So it's not better. I don't look at it, my relationship is better than yours. It's just different, but it works for me and is calibrated to my needs and our needs as a family.
That's so perfect. I love that.
A life hack. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, you've hacked it to, it works for you. It is unique. And I think it's perfect. Like, it's so interesting. I love how easily you tell and share that story too as well.
Plus, she's insatiable, so it's better to have a co-op team than
division of labor. Listen, sister wives are sister wives for a reason.
No, I don't think it works better the other way. Honestly, I think there's more male energy to female ratio. It works better. I think the best like group sex experience is 4 guys, 2 girls. That's chef kiss for me. It's just the right energy. Like, people could take a break. The biology works better. So personal preference, but I think that's why when you look at porn, you don't see a lot of female and male, one male, and they're usually not that exciting. At least for me. So I think we're designed the other way.
So cool.
Riley, I need better birthday parties, because that's a story. I mean, we're going on vacation, but we're family resorting for my birthday. I want a secret gangbang with 4 dudes and
line
me
up boys.
You live the life, Kenneth. I'm so envious.
You know, it's funny. People assume we live a wild life like that. We were talking about this the other day because we're in the sex world. Our business is open 363 days a year. So every day we're on the clock as the owners, right? So it's sex talk, penis talk, everything all day long. And so people assume that we're just like naked in the streets being like, woo. And to me, I'm like, yeah, not in this country. When I'm overseas, sure, nobody knows me. But here, I have to be in pro mode all the time. I don't want to be at a private thing and they're like, oh, there's Emily. That's my work name. I don't need any of that shit. Don't call me that in my personal life, right? But we are actually quite vanilla. And I think it's just because of the time consumption mostly and the privacy elements of sex work. But like, the way you just described your life, I'm like, that is my life and relationship goals right there. I don't want biological children. I'm happy to be a stepmom to a, kid and the dad who's got them every other weekend. I'll live in separate houses. You keep the dog. I don't want to walk that every day either. Like, I just don't have time for that shit. But like, let's do all the fun stuff. I love that you found a partner in him that is able to kind of fill and compensate for each of your strengths and weaknesses. That sounds like such an amazing balance. And I think people don't look at relationship options enough. They stay in conventional situations, stay unhappy a lot. Listen, if there was more happy marriages, our business would tank, because sex work would tank. The oldest profession would die if marriages ever figured themselves out. But most people don't take the space and the wonderment to even explore alternative marriages like that and a relationship concepts. And I think it is so beautiful to hear how functional it is. That's amazing. I mean, functional is not a sexy word, but it's sexy to hear it, because I'm like, wow, that's an ideal balance. You've literally set your life up exactly how you want it. I'm so in admiration of that. I think it's beautiful.
I mean, I think it's also when it comes to male confidence, right? We think by hoarding or mate guarding our partner is a strategy that shows confidence. To me, is that you really have to have your own internal self-esteem and security there in order for you to share that, knowing that she would choose you no matter she got option, right? And unfortunately, a lot of really successful male get cheated on because obviously they're busy at work, right? So it's not necessarily the case that if you are successful, you drive the Ferrari, you have all the money, that you could actually make guard successfully. That actually doesn't work out like that. Especially you don't want to outsource the sex. So I don't care how successful you are, your boardroom skill does not transfer to the bedroom. That's why I have some
100%.
very, very, very high successful client who want to master that domain. But when it comes to male security, like sometimes I still get a lot of shit. And my Chinese family is quite conservative and see all those things. And like, why would you let your wife have two husbands and all those things? Especially my mom was hilarious when I told her. I go like, Mom, Karen's going to have another husband and they're going to have a baby. And my mom literally said to me, you dumbass, she's a doctor, you're a whore. Why don't you give her a baby? So, jokingly, lovingly, because it's like Hong Kong culture is a lot of roasting. But but what I have learned is that I don't need the external validation from the world because my security comes from inside, and our ability to share. And especially when it comes to monogamy, our idea of monogamy have changed so much. The idea of monogamy used to be one relationship for life, as Esperel said, right? Now it's one relationship staggered over the other, depending if people cheat or not. So we all, most of the time, actually execute some type of non-monogamy one way or the other. So might as well just be transparent and negotiate like adults, right? Instead of just going in with our instinctual guarding, hoarding strategy, which even if you do that doesn't mean the other person is happy. So I rather, like, you know, you love something, let it go. I rather she flies back to my hand than to hold on and squeeze her, you know?
I love
that. Beautiful. That's so beautiful. Yeah. You just put me in my fluffy side. All the feels on that, because that's a lesson. I mean, I wish young people would learn that when they start dating, because to have that kind of confidence, God, that would save so many teenage heartaches, or like those moments when you're a young person where you feel almost out of control. You know, obsessive love is one thing, toxic love is another thing. And they put you in this whirlwind where you lose yourself. And if you had that solid base of foundation of confidence and self-security and knowledge of self, you wouldn't split off into all these rabbit holes and get kind of caught in the spiral of it as easily. You still would get caught up a little. Let's be real. What do we know when we're 15? Nothing. But it would feel more stable. It wouldn't be so, you know, unhinged and wild and feel like the world is ending and like all the dramatics that come with it. And some people never grow from that, right? They still date like that when they're 56. So it would be so nice if young people learn some of that. He's laughing. I'm like, it's true. You should hear the stories from some of our clients. And I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah, falling in love literally is the only sanctioned insanity that we all allow. It's like being on cocaine and Molly 24/7.
It's crazy.
It's delicious.
It's crazy. It's actually unhinged. And it's the only thing out there that's supposed to be nice that has the word falling attached to it as well. I've never believed in falling in love. I think that sounds just hurtful. Ease into love, steady in love, sit in love, like enjoy it. But like, maybe let's don't trip. Right. To fall flat on our face. Like, no. Let's raise up in love. I think it's so much easier. And you're right. Once you have that, then all those other conversations that are going to be awkward just wouldn't be as difficult. It wouldn't seem like these unsurmountable things that you have to get over that people avoid. People avoid so much talk about their own relationships, whether it's the divorce talk or whether it's the separate bedrooms talk or the how are we doing today talk. Like, the check-ins can make people uncomfortable. And if they had that confidence, my goodness, the world would be so different. That's so fascinating to hear. Here we go with the word fascinating again.
I know. It's like the word of the day.
I love it.
Like, your lifestyle is fascinating. I think you're so cool and someone I want to continue talking to. So we have to have you back and have like a different direction of questioning, because I'm just in awe. It's been wild.
Yeah. I want to dive in deeper. Let's plug your book too. Can we show everybody the book?
Yeah.
And where can they find it?
You can find it on kennethplay.com. I just released the audiobook on my site exclusively first. And this is the first edition. And I don't know if you can see it. It looks like drippy wet and you can feel the texture on the outside. And the reason is called Beyond Satisfied, just like food that we mentioned earlier. Whenever we experience something like the best meal you ever had, your brain literally re-index what is possible. So I want to teach people the technique to experience what they even know it was possible in their body. And unfortunately, doing sexual learning, if we find one flavor that is reliable and is like what we like, we tend to eat the same thing over and over again. We didn't know that it was possible to taste a new flavor. and it could be different or better, but we just keep indexing. So the researcher who wrote my foreword taught me about the role of learning. We really don't know what kind of experience we could have in sex. And to me, I want to expand people's possibility of how good it could possibly feel in all kinds of different ways. So they could expand their pleasure potential really on what is possible in their body.
I love that. What a philosophy. It's so true. Expand the mind and discover, because like I was saying earlier, like the body can do incredible things. And we're not taught that in like open common knowledge. You have to kind of discover it from an amazing person like yourself, or like stumble into it and find it, you know, an indirect 6 degrees of separation kind of way, instead of knowing, oh my God, I'm born, I'm in this body, I have all these options. Now I'm just gonna, like, don't eat chicken fingers and French fries every day. Do something else. Like discover the entire palette, because there's so much more out there. And I think people would live richer, healthier lives if they just dip a toe, just dabble a little, try a few things. And then once you discover it, your mind will be like in Disneyland and you're like, I want it all.
Can I throw you guys a curveball question to both of you, one at a time? I love asking podcast hosts if they have a naughty question they wanted to ask me, but they're debating if they should ask it on a podcast. So I don't know if you could think of any. And it could be super, it doesn't have to be naughty. So I like a
we like
question.
the naughty questions. We like those ones.
We like naughty stuff.
Emily's much quicker than me, so you go first, Emily.
Yeah, I had one jump in my mind right away. Okay, so I have been single and just not intimate with anyone since just before the pandemic, which is ridiculously long, especially for someone with the life that I have. But I find a societal like tension or like battle within me that the more successful I become, the more of like, it's like the opposite of the high caliber man. I'm like, listen, I'm a high caliber ass woman, but especially in Toronto, finding a match is very difficult because I prefer a dominant man, and yet men are intimidated by successful women and blah, blah, blah. And so by the time that would get down to me choosing a sexual partner, because listen, I have enough boring notches on my belt, I want mind-blowing notches on my belt. And whether that's 1,000 people or one person, I'm open. I don't want to have to rub one out afterwards. I'm done with faking it. I did that professionally for a very long time. Like, I'm over that kind of shallow experience. And so for me to find the quality, not relationship necessarily, but sexual relationship with someone, what is advice you would give to kind of an alpha, dominant, successful kind of chick that wants those kinds of experiences? Because I'm also professionally shy. I'm not going to the local swingers clubs where we throw promo events. Like, going on a Tuesday by myself personally and be like, oh, I'm not Emily today, because 9 clients and 3 other hookers are going to be there, and they're going to know me, and I just know. So how do I navigate that? How do I find a guy like you that could provide the notches I really need? That's my question.
Well, I have some PC answer and some not. I agree with you. If you have this, professional persona that we need to maintain, right? It's harder to just relax and let go inside our close circle. So going to other people's event, going to a different location is cool. And also it depends on what you're actually looking for. There's a difference between trying to form a good sexual connection versus a romantic connection versus a companion connection. So the way that the tips that I share with my partner, my wife, is that it's not a good idea for her, the first thing she expressed to her new sexual endeavor, that she has 2 husbands, one of them wrote a book about sex, and they both look a certain way. Like, it's just not gonna, they're gonna be all over the place. I remember one time that she was using my apartment to bring a date in and all my sex toy hanging around. That will kind of kill the vibe for them. So now, I have a lot of successful female clients who are killers in the boardroom, right? But if that is not the energy that you care about, you're not trying to do business with them. And in the bedroom itself, you are looking for more of you rather him being dominant and confident, then just like I said earlier, that brain works on story, not on facts. So you just keep it in the bedroom realm, that you stay in character for the type of sex you want. That is different. I mean, if you're just looking for a sexual connection, right? You're not trying to like do. And I feel bad, right? That I'm like telling you to hide your professional strength, but sometimes it goes against, the energy you want to create. So I think is it might not be what people want to hear, but I understand male security when it comes to people feeling that about their financial ability and all those things like that. It just turned them into little turtles, and we don't want that. So if you want that dominant energy and you just want it in the sexual realm, then role play within that, and if that's what you're into. If not, obviously you have to find a match. But I just think it just, as a hack, it just up your chances if it's just for the sexual connection.
Advice. That's such good advice. I've never thought of it as a role play aspect, and that's easily digestible for me. Because being like, I've owned my own company for 15 years. I own a Reventag. It's all the sex work and blah, blah. They just kind of go,
yeah. They get intimidated and they get in their head. So if they just know you as, like, literally my wife just say, hey, I have some availability. I'm really into this. And that's all they really need to know. It's not like she intentionally lied to them. If she asked them, you go like, yeah, I have love in my life. Like, she doesn't, it's like how much to disclose. So you don't ask, I'm not telling you to lie, but like, you are the story writer here, right? We're doing it for entertainment and fun. So in this realm, it's not fact sharing, it's storytelling.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. That's so useful. Thank you. That's the best advice I've heard on that question. Thank you. I love that. That's super interesting.
I've come up with mine because I take a minute to think things.
You too.
But my question is more about you, because I'm very Kenneth curious. So I know, or I believe, that you've lived quite the life and had a lot of experiences. So is there a bucket list for Kenneth? Is there anything that has not been checked off that you are still in pursuit of?
I don't know if I have that many bucket listing that I haven't tried. Fortunately, I don't think I tried.
Done it all.
I not done it. That's not true. Not done it all, but I try a lot of things, like any group sex, kink, whatever. Those experiences I have felt. But the reason that I when I found your podcast, I was so curious because being on the giving side professionally and just being a nerd about it, I think it would be a fun challenge for me to have a week where I'm only on the receiving end. And honestly, I actually rather pay for it because it just allows me to turn off that reciprocate part of me. And I feel like sexual experience should be an exchange. But like, just like for my client, this is one way touch. I'm in, this is like, well, you don't feel bad about when you receive a massage or your massage therapist is like massaging you, right? So it might be fun for me to find a week where I'm just doing that to kind of recalibrate my world. Yeah.
I like it. Where are you located? I know you grew up or were born in Hong Kong, but where do you reside now?
I'm in New York right now, and I'm also a co-founder of a sex positive community called Hacienda. So we throw a lot of sex parties and things like that. So that's why I get access to so many like potential sexual experience besides work stuff. But because I'm always in the creating, manifesting, pleasuring side, it'd be fun to be on the flip side, on the receiving end. So
Toronto is not far from New York, Kenneth. So you can come. We can give you that week experience. Let's fulfill this business for you.
I should do a review, like a proper like sex educator 100%. Review, and what like it'd be fun. Yeah. Yeah, and also we could I don't know, we'll work out the detail, but it'd be fascinating 100%. To be on the other side. Yeah.
That's wicked. Come spend a week with us.
Tick that off your bucket list. We're in. So you just say the word and we'll set it up.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's a fun vacation right there. Have you been to Toronto before?
No, I think I passed by one, just like kind of like layover stuff. But I have a couple of male clients that it's just that they like kind of master on the giving side. They haven't really mastered the receiving side. So it'll be nice to. Yeah, I think it really helps people to be more balanced if they could do both, because it's two different skills. Like the art of receiving is different than art of giving. Yeah,
true. Very much. Ooh, we got business to talk about now too. off camera.
Yeah.
I love that. This has been so wonderful, Kenneth. Thank you so much for your time and all this amazing information. I've
Yeah.
learned some things. Now I've got some personal advice to work with.
Yeah,
That was
like
so wonderful.
yeah, don't like hang out somewhere else. I actually like going to play party and tell people I'm a newbie. Like this is the first time I'm at a sex party. It's actually more fun.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
So mischievous. I love it.
yeah.
That's
Well, thank you
wonderful.
for coming on Muse on the Mic. This is the end, actually, of our season 2. So you are our finale, and no better way to go out than with Kenneth Play. So check him out, guys. He is amazing, and we are fans.
Yes.
Forever. I love
Thank you
it.
for having me. I love talking to both of you. It's been fascinating.
Thanks,
It's
Kenneth.
been wonderful. Thanks so much.
Bye, guys. I am so captivated by him. He is absolutely fascinating and such a lovely person. I really enjoyed that.
I am hot and bothered and absolutely need to go rub one out now because whew, what a ride he is. That was amazing. What a fascinating man, that's for sure.
He's definitely unique. And that's
It
our
was so
wrap
good.
on season 2. We definitely hope to see you guys back here for season 3. We have a lot of hot stuff in store. But yeah, Kenneth, that was a good one.
It was a great way to wrap up the season. We started with a bang with a guest, a handsome gent. We ended with a handsome gent. Unfortunately, no real bangs, but can work on that. And make sure you guys tune in a couple of days. We've got a highlight reel for everyone to watch and enjoy over the holidays. It will be free on Patreon, so everyone can access it. We will put that link in the description below. And as Riley said, we will see you guys in season 3 on January 6th. Happy holidays, happy New Year's to everyone, and we'll see you soon from Muse
Bye,
on the Mic.
guys.
Bye, guys.